Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to Travelweek webinars. We have a very exciting guest here with us today, Cara Matthews. She is the Senior Business Development Manager for Quark Expeditions, and they're all about polar tours and exciting boats and expeditions you can go on up there. So today we're going to learn about where they go. We're going to learn about sorry a second. I'm actually at the airport. So we have a little bit of an announcement. Hold on a second. Exciting, yes, people are flying again. We're going to learn about the onboard, the offboard experiences. We're going to learn about everything they have to offer. So stay tuned until the end because we have a $250 Visa gift card for one of you lucky listeners. And we're also going to be going through all the questions that you have at the end. So there's a Q&A box, type your questions in there and we'll address them together at the end. And there's also a chat. The chat is if you want to reach my technical support. If you're having any problems, put your problem in there and we'll get to it as soon as we can. And now I'm going to introduce Cara. Hello, Cara. Thanks for being here today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. I'm excited to share my polar passion with all of you.
Okay, great. I will let you take it away, and then I'll come back and join you for Q&A.
Marvelous. Thank you. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for journeying to the polar regions with me today. My name is Cara Matthew, and please take down my phone number and email address and contact me at any time. I've been with Quark Expeditions for almost 13 years now. So I love talking about polar travel. I've been to Greenland and Spitsbergen to see the polar bears off the coast of Norway. I've been to Antarctica. So I'm here every step of the way for you and your clients. So why have your clients travel with Quark Expeditions? I wanted to share a little bit about the history of our company. So Quark Expeditions, as was mentioned earlier, we're polar travel. We do polar exclusively. We've been in business for 3 decades delivering polar adventures to passengers. We were actually the first company to take passengers to the North Pole in 1991, which is still a trip we do today. We go in the heart of the northern hemisphere summer. So that is still an itinerary we have. We also were the first company to take passengers to witness the total solar eclipse in Antarctica. So we have other eclipse trips this upcoming Antarctic season because there will be an eclipse in Antarctica in the subantarctic region in December, this upcoming December. We're also the first company to bring commercial passengers on a full circumnavigation to Antarctica as well. So when you think of Quark Expeditions, think polar exclusively, that we only do polar. We're uncompromisingly polar. We're not a cruise company that dabbles a little bit in the Arctic and Antarctica. We only do polar travel. We don't go anywhere else in the world. This is all that we do, and we explore these regions. We have the most diverse fleet of small little polar expedition vessels. So that's really what Quark Expeditions is known for. So when we're exploring the polar regions, we're on little vessels. And our vessels don't carry any more than 199 guests. So we have the most diverse fleet of small little expedition polar ships. And this is great because it enables your clients to choose how they want to maneuver around these regions. I love small little expedition vessels because we can get everyone off the ship at the same time in these regions. As soon as you're choosing ships for your clients that are 250, 300, 500 passengers, not everyone can get off the ship at the same time. So we have ships ranging from the most powerful icebreaker in the world, a 75,000 horsepower icebreaker, the 50 Years of Victory that goes to the North Pole, breaking through approximately 9 feet of ice along the way, to our new game-changing expedition vessel, the Ultramarine, which I'll share with you a little bit about our fleet near the end of our presentation. So I wanted to share with you who travels to the polar regions with Quark Expeditions, because in our research, we've determined that there are 4 types of travelers that we categorize as polar travelers. And there are typically common traits within each of these groups. So you might actually find that you have some clients in these groups, maybe even in one type of client fits all 4 groups. So we have that checklister. This is the first group that we all know well. Maybe they want to checklist going to Antarctica and stepping their foot on the 7th continent. Or maybe they want to go to the Arctic and checklist seeing a polar bear off their list. These types of travelers don't want to push the limits with physical activities typically, but they do appreciate private and luxurious accommodations. So for checklist travelers, seeing the polar regions is a life goal. The other second important group of polar travelers are the escapists. These are the people who are looking to get away from it all and reconnect with themselves. These travelers want to unplug, relax, and maybe get pampered and come back to their everyday life feeling rejuvenated. And the wellness industry is huge right now, and people just wanting to unplug and get away from it all. So these are definitely the types of travelers that come with us to the polar regions. We also have the learners, and these are people that are driven by quality experiences and they want to travel with experts and like-minded people. We have fantastic educational components when your clients are traveling with Quark Expeditions. We have historians and ornithologists, we have glaciologists, we even have a penguinologist that comes with us to Antarctica. So if you have clients that love that educational learning experience on their trips, these are the types of travelers that come with us to see the polar regions. Now, last but not least, we have the adventurers. These types of travelers tend to be a little bit younger, but are willing to compromise a little bit of luxury for those adventurous experiences. These types of clients also apt for a little bit of more getting their adrenaline pumping. Quark Expeditions offers a variety of adventure options that we'll speak about at the end, like stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking. And so these types of travelers are looking for a lot of different types of adventure. I do find, though, that even if your client wants to stay on the little expedition vessel, and maneuvering around these polar regions is a definitely adventurous spirit as well. Our average age is 50 in the polar regions. Our minimum age is 8, so great for intergenerational family travel. I was on board with an 86-year-old who didn't get off the ship once on one of my trips. I also traveled with a 99-year-old who loved hiking. So these are definitely for all sorts of ages. Again, the minimum age is 8 years old. So let's start about navigating the Antarctic area. So Quark Expeditions has trips starting as little as 8 days, with a flying cruise trip going to Antarctica, where we fly across that infamous body of water, the Drake Passage, which is typically a day and a half to 2 days in each direction cruising. But we can also fly the Drake on a very safe jet, and the flight is approximately 3 hours. But we have trips all the way up to 20 and 23 days that include the subantarctic regions, which we'll be talking about today. That encompasses South Georgia and the Falkland Islands as well. So depending on your clients wanting an 8-day trip all the way up to 20 and 23-day trip, it's a great question to ask your clients is how long they want to go away for, and if they want to fly the Drake Passage or cruise going over the Drake Passage on the vessel itself. We also have trips that focus on Patagonia too. So our trips start at the beginning of November, end of October, all the way through to the beginning of April. So when your clients are choosing a trip to Antarctica, there is no bad time to go to Antarctica in the season in which Quark Expeditions travels there. They'll just see different things. So the early season is typically November and December, the reawakening of Antarctica after the winter, and glaciers are at their biggest form, and the glaciers are just beginning to melt, so that's a great time to see the fresh fallen snow. But mid-season is typically December and January, where there's up to almost 20 hours of daylight because we're going in the heart of the Antarctic summer, and the penguins are starting to hatch in Antarctica at the end of December. Then end of season is considered mid-February to April when the pack ice is receding, so lots more opportunities too for hiking because the snow has melted a lot on the landings. But there's still thousands of penguins and lots of whales at this time. So there's no bad time to go to Antarctica. It's just depending on what your clients want to see and do. So let's dive into one of the most remote regions on the planet, Antarctica. Let's go to the bottom of the world first. So Antarctica is the southernmost continent. And I love some fun facts that I wanted to share with you because it's twice the size of Australia. It's approximately 98% covered in ice. So Antarctica is the fifth largest continent. It's 14 million square kilometers. It's absolutely huge. And so why Antarctica? I did mention that it's a lot of people's seventh continent. They want to checklist the seventh continent, the white continent, off their bucket list. But also people who have a strong desire to see wildlife. If you have clients that are wildlife enthusiasts, this is definitely a destination for them to place on their bucket list and to travel to Antarctica. If you have clients that are seasoned world travelers, and they're thrilled to experience completely new environments. Maybe your clients have cruised all the rivers. Now they're thinking, now where can I cruise to? Definitely share with them Antarctica and put Antarctica on their radar. Maybe they cruised Alaska and they saw the gorgeous colossal glaciers there and the mountain ranges. And Antarctica is definitely that next step of glaciers and beautiful mountain ranges. So there's a wide variety of ways to personalize your client's expedition trip too, if different people have different goals. And that's great too for group travel. We do focus on groups in the Arctic and Antarctica. And so that's great if people are wanting different things out of their trip. It's still wonderful for group travel. So I love maps. I'll have a few maps throughout. This finger of land, the peninsula, is typically where a lot of operators travel to. And a lot of people explore this region because it's the highest concentration of wildlife in Antarctica. And so there's over 20 million penguins in Antarctica. So a lot of the penguins are in this area here in this region in the Antarctic Peninsula. So the body of water between South America and this finger of land, the Antarctic Peninsula, is considered the Drake Passage, one of the roughest bodies of water in the world. I sailed the Drake Passage quite a few times and I get severe seasickness. So seasickness is mentioned a lot and it's a commonly asked question probably with your clients. So mention that they can fly the Drake Passage. But I took a lot of gravel and got out on deck and I slept some of it off. So there are times where it's the Drake Lake, we call it, and it's completely flat. And then there are times where we call it the Drake Shake and it can be a little rough. It typically takes, again, a day and a half to 2 days in each direction to sail the Drake Passage. So the bodies of water that are coming together are quite a few oceans coming together. So it's called the Antarctic Convergence. And that's what can make crossing the Drake Passage a little bit rough. So that is typically a rite of passage for going to Antarctica. A lot of people want that badge of honor, especially if you have clients that are into sailing or cruising in general. Some people want that badge of honor on their arm to say that they've cruised the Drake Passage. With the Antarctic Peninsula, there is a silence in Antarctica that is never experienced anywhere else on the planet. It's really, truly deafening. And that's one thing that I noticed first when I arrived at the seventh continent. There is truly like no other place on the planet. It's like you're on another world, on another globe. It's absolutely incredible. And I've been to Switzerland, seen the Swiss Alps. I've been to the Rocky Mountains. I grew up in British Columbia, and there is no place in the world like Antarctica. What really sets Quark Expeditions apart from the rest, though, and this is a commonly asked question, is what are some differentiators? And other than the fact that we're uncompromisingly polar, we're actually getting out and stepping onto the continent. We aim for a minimum of 2 excursions per day. Quark Expeditions is really known for our off-ship experience. And so we have multiple levels of hiking that's included in everyone's voyage. Contemplative walks are available throughout the trips as well. So people are actually getting out and stepping onto the continent. Penguins are definitely the star of the show, though. And so people are actually able to walk among the penguins. So your clients are able to get off the ship and we're able to go into penguin rookeries. And we're supposed to stay a safe distance away from the penguins. We have a certain amount of distance that we're supposed to stay from the wildlife. But the penguins are so inquisitive and they'll come right up to your clients. I had a penguin I was standing shoulder width apart And the penguin walked right in between my legs and looked right up at me and kept going forward and walking. So there's lots of different penguin species that we're seeing in Antarctica. There's the Adelie penguins, which is the penguin that you see here. There's the chin-strap penguin with a little penguin strap that looks like it's holding a little hat. There's also the Gentoo, and so there's lots of different species that we can see. There's 17 species of penguins in the world. But I went to Antarctica for the first time with my 66-year-old aunt, my Aunt Lucy, and I love seeing a lot of the whales too. And so one morning we were actually supposed to go on a landing. And in true expedition fashion, and this really is what expedition cruising is all about, is one minute you could plan a landing and the next minute the expedition team are saying, let's not go on the landing because there's wildlife to be seen. And we had a humpback whale, a mother and her calf, approach us in a bay. And so we actually didn't go on a particular landing that morning. We were in the presence of 2 humpback whales, and it was just an incredible moment that I'll never forget. So whales are plentiful. There's 5 species of orca whales. So as you can see, this orca behind me in my backdrop here, there's orcas too in Antarctica that you can see all year round. Typically, I saw a pod of 40 orcas. This particular trip behind me, a Zodiac actually had a small pod of orcas chasing a penguin. And the penguin actually jumped into one of the Zodiacs to escape from the orcas. So there's never a dull moment in Antarctica, and each trip is truly unique. We're trying to get off the ship as much as possible. And we're traveling in these little Zodiacs, these little rubber boats. And these parkas that you're seeing here too, these yellow parkas, they are included with the trip. So your clients will receive a parka. It's a gift from Quark Expeditions. We also supply muck boots that are on loan for the duration of the trip for your clients, 2 less things for your clients to pack. So that's a great thing. We loan muck boots for the duration of the trip. They're waterproof and durable, great for getting in and out of the Zodiacs. And I get a question too, how easy is it to get in and out of the Zodiacs? Do my clients have to be really active? And these trips can be as leisure as or active as your clients would like it to be. Your clients, if they can get in and out of a bathtub, they can get in and out of a Zodiac. Our expedition team there are there to help your clients getting in and out of the Zodiacs. Our expedition team are actually driving the Zodiacs as well. And so typically with some of the larger cruise lines that are going to the polar regions, it's their actual ship crew that are driving the Zodiacs. But I love that it'll be a historian or a biologist that's actually driving our Quark Expedition trips, Zodiacs. What's wonderful too is we aim for 2 excursions a day, but there's a possibility where we might go out for 3 excursions. I was in the bar after dinner one evening listening to a wonderful bar talk by one of our expedition team members when the marine biologist interrupted the talk and asked us if we wanted to go out for a 3rd excursion. Some people stayed in the bar. They had a really busy day and they wanted to relax. Other passengers got their parkas and boots, and we ended up seeing 40 crab eater seals gathering krill at sunset. So there are opportunities to get out for 3 excursions sometimes. So I wanted to share with you some itineraries. This is our most popular itinerary, our Antarctic Explorer trip. So we have lots of different departures. These are just a few of our departures for 2022 and 2023, as well as this upcoming 2021. This is our most popular itinerary, so I highly recommend if your clients are thinking about going to Antarctica to start here, to not overwhelm them with a lot of itineraries that we offer. This is perfect for first-time explorers. And then this is the Antarctic Express trip that I was mentioning, where your clients can fly the Drake Passage for as little as 8 days. So maybe you want to team up South America packages with Antarctica for your clients. Maybe you want to have them see Easter Island or areas of Patagonia with a land-based program. So this is an 8-day program that starts in Punta Arenas, Chile. So our fly and cruise programs start from Chile. If your clients want more time to spend in Antarctica, I sometimes refer it to an African safari. Some people may want to go to the Masai Mara in Kenya or Tanzania too, but they want more time to explore those areas. And that's like Antarctica. Some of your clients might want to have more time on the continent, more time to see wildlife. So we do have a crossing the circle departures. that later on in the season, January, February, we can actually go further south into Antarctica. So this actually crosses right into 66 degrees south. This again is perfect for those checklist travelers. Maybe your clients have crossed the Arctic Circle and want to cross the Antarctic Circle. So this is great for clients that want a more in-depth exploration of the peninsula itself and venture further into Antarctica and reach some new milestones. We also offer one departure in 2022 and one departure in 2023. That's the fly cruise option, but crossing into the Antarctic Circle as well. So this fly cruise combines the exciting crossing the circle element, going from Punta Arenas, Chile, flying over the Drake Passage, but we'll pass 66.5 degrees south to experience the Antarctic Circle as well. I can't talk about Antarctica without talking about these beautiful subantarctic regions, the Falkland Islands and South Georgia. And these areas are really known for diverse wildlife and beautiful fjords. So if you have clients that have been to the Galapagos, definitely have your clients think about going to South Georgia and the Falkland Islands. South Georgia is known as the Galapagos of the subantarctic region. Some people have also called it the Serengeti of the Southern Ocean. That's how much wildlife there is, and such diverse wildlife than what people will see in Antarctica. It's very, very different. And so people can see different things in the Falklands and South Georgia. I love too the historical aspect of South Georgia, where people can see Sir Ernest Shackleton's grave site. This is the resting spot of Sir Ernest Shackleton's grave, but also history. I also enjoyed with Falkland Islands visiting Port Stanley, and there's even opportunities of doing a little bit of a bar hop in Stanley and going to some British pubs. So this is a great opportunity to have some historical aspects of these regions, as well as some moments where there's some community visits as well. But Falkland Islands is also home to the world's largest black-browed albatross colony. And so a commonly asked question is, isn't it cold in the polar regions? And look at how lush these areas are, the subantarctic regions, especially going farther north into the northern to the equator. Yes, I still wore my parka. The winds can bustle and get quite chilly in these areas, but it's not as cold as people think it is. I live in Toronto. We are a US-based company in Seattle, but my winters in Toronto can be quite cold. So I get a lot of people saying, you know, I come from Chicago, or I come from Toronto, or I come from the East Coast. Why would I want to go to Antarctica? And the temperatures average about 45 degrees Fahrenheit, all the way up to, it can get up to 55 degrees Fahrenheit in some of these areas. And so it's not as cold. In my trip too, for Celsius, I was in these areas in Antarctica, the peninsula. My first trip in February ranged from about 5 degrees Celsius to about -5 degrees Celsius. There were times where I'd tie my parka around my waist and go out for a walk. So it's not as cold in these areas as people might think it is. But I love seeing elephant seals in South Georgia. These elephant seals are huge. They're gigantic. And of course, we want to stay a safe distance from these creatures. There are areas in Antarctica when we approach the continent itself, like the South Shetlands, that we can see them. But South Georgia, you can find these gigantic seals, and I love the little pups too. But a species of penguin that we won't see in Antarctica and the Falklands, or that we won't see in Antarctica, but we'll see in the subantarctic region, like the Falklands and South Georgia, are the king penguins and other birds, great ducks, like beautiful ducks as well. So there's a lot of wildlife that you can't see in Antarctica, which is why I'd love for you to put this on your clients' radar, especially the king penguins in South Georgia. There's over 200,000 in South Georgia. So South Georgia is home to the second largest penguin species. So with that 17 penguin species in the world that I was saying earlier on the planet, people wouldn't be able to see, for instance, the king penguin in Antarctica, but people would be able to see it in areas like South Georgia. So just wanted to put South Georgia and the Falkland Islands. If people have the time, highly recommend these areas. So this is definitely a great area to explore. We have 16-day trips that include South Georgia and Antarctica. And then if your clients want a longer trip and they can travel for a longer period of time, the 20-day Falkland, South Georgia, and Antarctica trip, as well as the epic Antarctica voyages that are full 23 days crossing into the heart of the Antarctic Circle as well. So this is the whole kit and caboodle. We also have solar eclipse trips this upcoming season for November and early December. So please reach out too if you're interested in, if your clients want to see the solar eclipse in the subantarctic area. We also explore Patagonia. So with our new ship, the Ultramarine, which I'll mention in a bit, we have helicopters on our new Ultramarine. So helicopters offer guests stunning bird's eye views of Patagonia, from breathtaking summits to the endless Chilean fjords too. And there's a beautiful diversity of the Patagonian landscape. And so people can appreciate this from the air. So heli excursions, heli flight sightseeing is included in Patagonia and Antarctica with Quark Expeditions with our new trip, with our new ship for these trips. So there's beautiful tinted icebergs and glaciers in these regions, beautiful rainforest in Patagonia too, and rugged shorelines, and an abundance of wildlife as well. So great, these are great trips. And so we can see sea lions and other birds too, more penguins. And so this is great because we can also not only go through the Beagle Channel, but we're exploring Terra del Fuego archipelago with the helicopters, and also the Cape Horn biosphere. And so the 19,000 square mile, 49,000 square kilometers Cape Horn, the biosphere reserve is home to thousands of tiny plants and mosses and lichens that form the miniature rainforest of this region. So highly recommend sharing this area with your clients too. So Patagonia, these are new trips for Quark Expeditions. So those who want to travel to Patagonia as well, we have a 13-day trip that includes the peninsula as well as Patagonia on the way back. But if people, maybe they've been to Antarctica and want to just explore Patagonia, we have great 15-day trips. And it's sometimes people do back-to-back trips too, where people do explore Antarctica and then come and explore Patagonia too and stay on the ship as well. So now let's go to the top of the world. Let's go to the Arctic. Let's talk about the Arctic and what regions can be found here. And about 4 million people live north of the Arctic Circle at 66 degrees south, or 66 degrees north, sorry. And this is what differs from Antarctica, is the cultural visits and the communities. People haven't been able to inhabit Antarctica because it's so cold in the Antarctic winters. But typically there's small communities spanning the Arctic, in communities like Greenland and Canada, Finland, Iceland and Norway, Russia, Sweden, and of course the United States. But the most popular destinations among Arctic travelers are the Canadian Arctic and Greenland and Spitsbergen off the coast of Norway. And there truly is no better time to travel to the Arctic. And so our Arctic season picks up where Antarctica leaves off at the beginning of May to the beginning of October. So it's just different things to see and do. So if your clients are able to travel in June, maybe they'd like to see Spitsbergen and go off the coast of Norway. Or if they can travel in July, maybe going to Greenland. Or if they want to travel in September, going and seeing the Northern Lights in Greenland or the Canadian Arctic. So there's lots to see and do in the Arctic alone, and it's so vast. We have rare opportunities for travelers to explore Russia, so the Russian Arctic. And this is a largely unseen and unknown familiar place until now. So there's some great new itineraries that Quark Expeditions has. And these places might not be on your client's radar. This is typically for people who have traveled to the Arctic already. Maybe they've been to Spitsbergen or the Canadian Arctic. But these are great areas to see through the Cara Sea, the ice cellar, it's considered, of the Arctic. So if your clients are really wanting to take in unforgettable ice caps and sea cliffs and mountain ranges, definitely put some Russian itineraries on their radar. So gorgeous glaciers and also wildlife, polar bears and walrus. So these are great for adventurers and history enthusiasts. If you have those types of travelers on your list, share with them our Arctic trips. And what's incredible is Quark Expeditions, one of the biggest differentiators too is how innovative we are. We're so innovative with our itineraries. And so with this little vessel that you're seeing here in this picture, if you can see it, this isn't in our fleet. But this is the ship that we took in 2019 with one of our expedition team leaders and one of our directors of product and innovation to create an unforgettable trip. And so we've created an itinerary with this little vessel. And so we have created great Russian itineraries. And so we go to the Russian Arctic in July and August when the ice is broken up in these regions in the heart of the Northern Hemisphere summer. So July and August is the best time to see the Russian Arctic. And it's relatively warmer temperatures for easier navigation in these regions. But polar bears are plentiful. I loved getting, I saw a tweet about one of these areas, like on this map, the Novaya Zemlya. And so some communities, some polar bears went into some of these communities. So polar bears have no passports. They travel to areas of Russia and Norway and Canada. And so they're great swimmers. So these are great opportunities to see polar bears. We have 16-day trips, and then we also have a 22-day trip. So I wanted to share with those Russian itineraries and put those on your radar. But Spitsbergen is most popular destination in the Arctic. It's known as the realm of the polar bear because it offers incredible areas for polar bear sighting. So Spitsbergen is known as the main island of the Svalbard archipelago. So some of you may have heard Svalbard and some of you may have heard Spitsbergen, and they are used interchangeably, but Spitsbergen is the largest and only permanently populated island of the Svalbard archipelago, and it is located off the coast of Norway. So it's in the heart of the Arctic Circle, and it borders the Arctic, it borders the Arctic Ocean, the Norwegian Sea, and the Greenlandic Sea. So it's the largest island in Norway, the 36th largest island in the world. And a lot of people want to go here to see the polar bear, the largest land carnivore on the planet. So I love this trip for this. I went in 2019 on this trip in July. And I was also able to witness a hunting by stalking with a polar bear. We were interrupted at lunch because even though it's an expedition, we have phenomenal cuisine on board. We were interrupted to see the polar bear, and we were asked to slowly go out on deck. And we saw a male bear hunting a seal, a bearded seal out on the sea ice. And it was incredible because the polar bear was crouching behind a pressure ridge of ice, and it jumped out behind the ice to get the seal out on the sea ice. Half the ship was going for the polar bear, half the ship was going for a seal. It was an incredible experience that I'll never forget. The seal ended up getting away, but the polar bear specialist on board mentioned that it was a male bear, approximately 4 or 5 years old. The male bear was quite well fed out on the sea ice. So this is a great place for your clients to see polar bears. I know that areas like the Canadian Arctic, like Manitoba, Churchill is popular to see polar bears, but definitely consider putting Spitsbergen on your clients' list. And great for all ages too, intergenerational family travel. I loved learning a lot about birds on my Spitsbergen trip. I was never a birder, but our ornithologists and amateur bird watchers, we can see Arctic terns and skuas and long-tailed ducks, kittiwakes and ivory gulls, so lots of different birds on these trips. I also saw my first puffin colony. So on the west portion of Spitsbergen, I saw a little puffin colony. I had never seen puffins before. And then on the right portion of the screen, this is Kittiwake Canyon, seeing kittiwakes. And this is incredible because I had to close my mouth because there were so many birds. I was worried that I would get some penguin poo in my mouth. So if you have birders on your list of client bases, I highly recommend reaching out to your birders. I loved also seeing reindeer and beluga whales, so lots of wildlife in Spitsbergen. We have 7-day trips, so great if you wanted to team up another European destination for your clients, maybe France or Estonia. But then also some people want to see land-based programs in Norway as well. So 7-day trips, 10-day trips, 12-day trips. But we also have a full circumnavigation. So if your clients have the time, we can fully circumnavigate around Spitsbergen. So again, like Antarctica, we're getting off the ship as much as possible. But what's great about these expeditions is the ship is one of the greatest platforms for viewing wildlife and scenery as well. Greenland is renowned for its stunning scenery and has the most stunning ice scapes floating in the water and great for community visits. And it was never on my radar until I went really in 2016. So I want to share Greenland with you because I'm thrilled to share with you what it has to offer. Greenland is the largest island on the planet. It's home to the longest fjord systems in the world. I mentioned Alaska earlier. And if your clients have been to Alaska, please share with them some Greenland itineraries, ranging from 9-day trips to 15-day voyages, just depending on what your clients are looking for. It's a great place for hikers too, if you've got hikers on your client base. Please reach out to your clients for these trips. They most likely won't have these destinations on their radar. People are really focused on Iceland, which is amazing. Love Iceland. It's so beautiful. I went there before my Greenland trip. So definitely we have trips that include Iceland and Greenland. But Greenland is incredible because it's so off the beaten path and home to beautiful ice-choked fjords, beautiful iceberg alleys. And in West Greenland, for fjords, glaciers, and archaeological sites are the orders of the day here. But one of the most iconic Greenlandic experiences on the west portion is visiting the Ilulissat Ice Fjord. It's one of the northernmost UNESCO World Heritage Sites on the planet, and it's a massive collection of icebergs that fill these areas that have calved from the Cermak Glacier, Cermak Kujulak Glacier on the west portion of Greenland. And it's known that a lot of the icebergs that are floating in the Atlantic Ocean are actually coming from the west portion of Greenland. So that just gives you the sense of how much ice is in Greenland. And it's home to one of the fastest moving and most productive glaciers in the world, which is this glacier that I was talking about. So travelers can also embark on one of a longer challenging hike or a small contemplative walk, or again, not even get off the ship and witness the beautiful mountain ranges from the comfort of the vessel. Another area is Ikip which is another massive glacier which regularly calves into the ocean. But also South Greenland. Greenland is so diverse, southwest, east Greenland. So definitely people who are looking for historical aspects need to visit South Greenland. There's huge Viking history in South Greenland. So everyone can have a little bit of a different experience exploring Greenland. With our helicopters on the ultramarine, we can even have heli flight sightseeing, and heli hiking is also included in Greenland on the ultramarine. So great aerial views and heli landing. So if people don't want to do a heli hike, that's fine. They can do a landing very safely and witness some beautiful views from Greenland and from the helicopters and the mountain ranges. East Greenland is gorgeous. Scoresby Sun is beautiful. I loved hiking in this area, but also seeing lots of wildlife. Gorgeous fjord system in East Greenland. Again, it can be as active or as leisure as your client would like their trip to be. I also loved going community visits in East Greenland. I went to Itakormarit, a little Greenlandic community near the start of the voyage. It's East Greenland's most northerly community. So I loved being able to purchase some beaded work and some stonework from some local Inuit artists in the Inuit communities of Greenland. We also have Greenland Northern Lights programs in September and early October. So taking a Northern Lights show in, I will never forget when I went in 2016 in September. It's one of the best places on the planet to see the Northern Lights. So if your clients have Northern Lights on their radar, highly recommend sharing Greenland programs with them as well. So with Greenland, July, August, and September is when we go to Greenland. So just depending on what your clients want to see, we have 9-day trips that specifically focus on the south portion of Greenland, again, for all ages and all types of activity levels. But we also have a 15-day trip. This is great for your cruisers and your active travelers, your paddlers. So this is a great voyage to our 15-day essential Greenland trip. We also go into the Canadian Arctic. So we have great Canadian Arctic voyages. If your clients want to follow in the footsteps of legendary explorers or see gorgeous wildlife like polar bears, beluga whales too, and even there's possibilities of narwhals seen in the Arctic. So we go to really far north places like Ellesmere Island, Axel Heiberg, including Baffin Island. And what we've known from 30 years now of our polar experiences on comment cards is people loved doing the Northwest Passage trips with Quark Expeditions, but they were long. They were 27 and 30 days. And now people can explore the Quark Expeditions way of 9 and 12-day trips to the Canadian Arctic. So very short trips that we offer, up to 17 days. So there's also community visits too that your clients can explore in the Canadian Arctic. So we visit the high Arctic in August and September when there's less ice, so it's making it go through areas like Samford Fjord and Pentingerik as well earlier in the season. And so these are areas that are great to explore the Canadian Arctic. So we have 9-day trips starting and ending in Toronto, and 12-day trips beginning and ending in Toronto, where we fly up to Resolute and we get on the comfort of the vessel in the Arctic. We also have trips that include the west portion of Greenland and the Canadian Arctic, as well as 17-day trips that have more Baffin Island that's explored. One of the biggest differentiators as well is our Offship Experience. Quark Expeditions offers the largest portfolio of off-ship adventure options. And we get our clients closer to nature than any other operator with our expert guides, innovative itineraries, and quick deploying zodiacs. This enables spontaneous up-close wildlife encounters that your clients have never before imagined. So we offer more adventure options than anyone else. So unlike traditional cruise companies, we focus on the off-ship adventure. And so even though we believe that the on-ship experience is very important, we know how important the off-ship experience is as well. So we feel that both the on-ship and off-ship experience is equally important. So there's lots of included activities like the polar plunge, heli flight sightseeing on the ultramarine, zodiac cruising, hiking, and in Greenland, we have a Greenland ice sheet experience that's included. So definitely lots to consider with the inclusions, but we also have paid adventure options. So reach out to inquire more about our additional adventure options that are paid, but depending on the itinerary in the ship, these are additional options like sea kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding in Antarctica. We also offer camping in Antarctica. We also offer mountain biking in Greenland. So there's so much to choose from for your real active traveler. We also have the most experienced team in the industry. So after 30 years of polar adventure, our seasoned guides and expedition team and polar specialists have endless passion for these regions. So our high ratio of staff to guests, so it's 1 expedition team member to 7 passengers, means a real personal experience. So this is not ship crew. This is our expedition team alone. That's 1 expedition team member to 7 passengers. Our expedition team also sit with your clients during dinners and lunches, which is super exciting because they're always mingling with people on board and giving fantastic educational programs and presentations throughout the trip. 3 decades of polar exploration has taught us the importance of choosing the right vessel for your clients and for each expedition. So we have 5 vessels in our fleet, including our brand new ultramarine. So we have this new ship that was built in Croatia. She just completed her sea trials. Ultramarine means in Latin, beyond the sea. So this is our brand new purpose-built polar expedition vessel. What's exciting is the 2 helicopter pads. So we have 2 helicopters on this vessel and 4 quick zodiac embarkation points so we can get everyone off the ship even faster. So this truly is indeed a game changer in polar expedition. So this is an example of the 4 zodiac embarkation points on the stern. And look how easy it is for your clients to get from the stern of the vessel right into the comfort of the zodiacs. We also have a mud room, a ready room, so your clients can keep their parkas and their boots there. We have a great lounge that people can retire to after a great excursion. The cabins are beautiful, all outside cabins. We have balcony cabins. We have solo cabins as well, great bistros and dining options and spas and a fitness center. This is really known as our wellness ship too. So we have yoga on board. And this is an example of the introductory suite. So this is the cabin for introductory cabin for 2 people. We also have our World Explorer in Antarctica. Great luxurious ship, all balcony, all suite vessel. This is an example of the gorgeous veranda suite. So this is the entry level cabin. Just a great vessel. So if your clients are looking for that level of luxury, but still wanting to explore Antarctica, we have a little something for everyone in our fleet. So definitely share with your clients the Ultramarine. This ship does not have helicopters like the Ultramarine. but she has a great observation lounge, a fitness center and spa, a great level of luxury for your clients. I want to share with you too the Ocean Adventure with the 128 passengers, a little expedition vessel. She's our most popular amongst returning guests as well as our expedition team. She underwent a multi-million-dollar renovation back in 2017. I love this little expedition vessel, great for maneuvering around the polar regions. We do have owner suites and suites available on her, but we also have great cabins that are porthole cabins. So if your clients are looking for a little bit level of their entry level cabin, not really worried, more budget conscious than wanting to worry about what kind of cabin they're in, this is a great little expedition vessel. We also have the Ocean Diamond in Antarctica, a vessel favorite amongst passengers as well, because she is great onboard community, great fast vessel for maneuvering around Antarctica. All rooms have exterior views and on-suite facilities, great solo cabins as well, outside solo cabins, not inside tucked away, those solo travelers looking for a great rate because they're traveling by themselves. So this is a great vessel as well. Some suites also feature private balconies on this ship. So a wonderful expedition vessel with en-suite facilities and flat screen TVs and DVD players too. Our onboard experience is wonderful as well, and I did want to highlight this before we end here today. We have chef-prepared meals, polar libraries, exercise rooms, presentations throughout the voyage. I was even in bed some days by 9:30. I was in my room, in my cabin, writing in my journal and going to bed because I was so exhausted from being up from 6:30 in the morning all the way to throughout the whole day. So it is an action-packed itinerary, but people can relax on board too in the spa or in their cabins at any time. So we have a great experience on board. Excellent food. I can't stress this enough. We have breakfast, lunches, and dinner, snacks. We have pastries in the morning for if your clients are early morning risers. We have happy hour too on board. So our cuisine is incredible. Before we round off our time here today, I wanted to mention that we did launch our Polar Promise in the spring of 2019. We unveiled this enhanced sustainability strategy under this banner, the Polar Promise. And I feel like people are really going to be voting with their dollars and choosing sustainable methods of travel going forward after the time that we've spent here during this pandemic. And so ultimately, our strategy is about preserving the polar regions for our next generation of polar travelers. And that truly is our Polar Promise. And we have 4 pillars of our Polar Promise. And one is actually having people become polar ambassadors too, our polar ambassador program, through people taking home these amazing experiences and sustainability lessons from their trips to the Arctic and Antarctica, and people can apply them in their everyday lives and in their own communities. So I really wanted you to have this to share with your clients when they're choosing an operator for the polar regions, when you're helping them choose who they want to travel with to the polar regions. We're also an industry leader in health and safety. Quark Expeditions is the only polar specialist with an externally accredited safety program. So we have a British standard of safety. We have 4 pillars of health and safety as well. And even before COVID-19, health and safety was a priority for our commitment to guest safety. So this has always been a priority for Quark Expeditions. But consequently, during this time, we have assembled a multifunctional task force of physicians, polar experts, and industry leaders to help develop a most comprehensive health and safety plan in the expedition industries to provide you with peace of mind when you're selling Quark Expeditions to your clients. So we have canceled our Arctic 2021 season, so we're not resuming sailing until October 31st for Antarctica, but we continue to build out a great COVID safe policy. So I did want to share what we do have already, our safe COVID policy. Reach out if you'd like the brochure. So I love too the nature of the polar regions is we are naturally free from crowds, but we do have state-of-the-art protocols too, like testing benefits of rapid testing on board, making sure people provide a COVID-free test, a negative test prior to boarding. We also have like our 4 pillars of health and safety: clean ships, clean expedition staff, healthy expedition environment, and healthy fellow passengers. So please reach out if you want any information on that. And if you like what you've heard today, please become a Polar Pro. We want you to feel confident selling Quark Expeditions and the polar region. So we've created a training and sales enablement tool called Polar Pro to help you be the experts your clients are looking for. So feel free to grab your cameras on your phones and scan this QR code, or simply go to quarkexpeditionspolarpro.com to create an account. And we are help you to promote the polar adventures to your clients as well. So you can actually share photos with your clients from this tool and videos and maps. And so you can share it also with your social media. And this is exciting because I really do think that polar travel is coming up on people's radar. And this creates the opportunity for you to be a polar expert and share this with your client. Maybe some of you have sold polar already and love Antarctica and the Arctic. And for some of you who are just getting your feet wet in the polar regions and it's the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, for you, this is a great place to get lots of information with the app. And so we have the app in the iTunes store or Google Play. And so you'll have all the resources at your fingertips on your smartphone or desktop or iPad. So thank you so much for taking the time to learn more about Quark Expeditions. We are the leader in polar adventures. So please contact us today for more information. We also have host groups too, as I mentioned earlier. So please reach out to groups. We also have French programs. We have designated French departures. So if you have clients that are bilingual or really wanting French delivered on our programs, please reach out to me about the French programs on board as well. This is something I'm very proud of with Quark Expeditions. So thank you for spending time with me virtually and allowing me to share some of my polar passion with all of you.
Great. Thank you so much, Cara. This presentation was so informative, so exciting, and it was amazing to hear your personal experiences as well as all of the amazing opportunities that you guys offer. That was really great. So just a reminder to everyone to put your questions in the Q&A box and we can just go through those now. Just wanted to mention, my name is Megan and I'm just taking over for Devin. She's having some connection issues at the airport, travel nowadays. But yeah, so we'll start off with a couple of questions for you and see where it goes.
Sounds great.
Okay, great. So my first question, I guess this kind of, you mentioned the bilingual possibility or opportunity, but someone asked, what sort of nationality are the guests and crew? Is it a multitude? What can you expect when stepping on board?
That is such a great question because Quark Expeditions is actually sold in 52 countries. So I loved going on board and I still am friends with a couple in Switzerland. I was in Antarctica and we had 4 solo female travelers from different parts of the globe. One was from Australia, one was from Germany, one was from Chicago in the US, and one was from Alberta in Canada and Calgary. So it's so neat that we have diverse travelers on board, which is exciting. And our crew as well, depending on which trip you're on. For instance, our 50 Years of Victory, that goes to the North Pole. That's a total Russian crew. It's a Russian ship. But then we have our World Explorer ship. That's a Portuguese vessel that's registered in Portugal. So it just depends which vessel we're on. So in terms of our crew.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing to hear. Another question that we have is, what sorts of safety procedures are in place for travelers who may fall ill? I know you had mentioned there were physicians on board and you guys have kind of created this safe space, especially during the times of COVID, but I guess one person just wanted a little bit more elaboration if possible.
Yeah, that's a great question because we don't want to have any of the experience compromised. So what we've done is we have, like, for instance, designated cabins that have been allocated that we have set aside in case someone does get sick, for instance, on board and they need to be isolated or taken care of. We do have 2 doctors on board. We have one doctor that's part of our expedition team, and then we also have a doctor that's part of our ship crew. So we do have 2 doctors on board, and we also are always checking in on guests. So if the moment that someone maybe has a scratchy throat or they're not feeling well, or even seasickness, to carry out seasickness medications, our doctors are fantastic and very well known in the expedition industry. So that's a great way to know that your clients are in safe hands on board.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. That sounds amazing. Another question that we have is the airfare included from Toronto for the Canadian North?
Great question. So we have a charter flight from Toronto up to Resolute with 2 nights hotel for a transfer package. So it's the voyage cost and then the transfer package cost. So that's a great question because we are a US based company in Seattle. We do have a separate transfer package, so they're separated. People can opt out of the transfer package, but I highly recommend having everyone together and kind of creating their own bubble, if you will, starting in Toronto at the included hotel night.
Okay, sounds good. Another question is, do you have any FAMs or TA rates that people can look into?
Highly recommend reaching out to me for that about 30 to 60 days prior to any departure. Sometimes we have cancellations or things like that. So that's when we can create a great advisor rate to our great partners. So please feel free to get added on a list if you're inquired. That's a great way of doing it. Also, if building a small group can be as little as 5 cabins, 8 to 10 people. So please, if you're really wanting to experience a trip to the polar regions, creating a small little group is a wonderful way of trying to get there as well.
Okay, and then we have another question about requesting special meals on board for those who maybe have dietary restrictions.
Yeah, one of our previous presidents had a gluten allergy, and so he was celiac. And it was amazing because he went on board to test how good we were with our gluten-free options. So we have amazing gluten-free food, vegetarian, vegan. We have also other dietary requirements that we can consider too. Like if someone doesn't want salt or butter, or depending on what their dietary requirements are, we can assist. It's wonderful that we have a great dining room manager and they're always around to help with those needs. We also have medical forms that go out. And so we have all of those requirements to recorded for each guest. So you can send forms to your clients prior to boarding.
Okay, that's amazing. We have a few more questions. Another one is, when you go on an expedition, can you arrange for land stays both before and after? Is that something possible for?
Yeah, there's land stays we can do. For instance, in Antarctica, for instance, people sometimes want to stop in Iguazu Falls or Buenos Aires or and see the Iguazu Falls. So we can provide packages for those if you'd like. And we also have, we're not the operator for them, but we certainly can help purchase those for you. We also have, for instance, the Arctic, great for trips that are Iceland, Greenland, Spitsbergen, for instance. We can also provide 3-night packages, for instance, for an Iceland trip, looking at Reykjavik, or maybe even a land-based Oslo excursion prior to going up to Spitsbergen to see the polar bear. So yeah, we absolutely can do pre and post and help with that.
Amazing. Another question is, what are the travel insurance requirements? Does the regular travel insurance that people have suffice?
That's a really fantastic question because what's included in everyone's trip, so when you're booking your clients on a voyage, $500,000 of medical evacuation is included with each guest. So that's one less thing that people need to purchase. But that only gets people to the nearest hospital. So for instance, in Antarctica, we sometimes fly people to Chile or Argentina. Or in the Arctic, sometimes we fly people to Greenland. So for that, we recommend having a mandatory $50,000 per person of medical insurance. So that sometimes is included in people's credit card when they're purchasing a trip, or additional medical insurance through something like Manulife or Sun Life or things like that. So highly recommend getting your clients whatever you're using, whatever insurance you're using, to get $50,000 per person minimum of medical insurance.
Okay, great. A couple of questions about the facilities. So someone wanted to know if any of the vessels have bathtubs available or if it is all showers on there.
Yeah, depending on which ship, we have great, some of them have bathtubs. So even on our Ocean Adventure, that little expedition ship of 128 passengers that got renovated, the owner's suite has a little bathtub. So just depending if that's a priority for your clients, the World Explorer and the Ultramarine have bathtubs as well in certain cabin categories. So if that is a priority to your clients, a lot of the suites, a lot of the premium cabin categories do have them. So just make sure when you're choosing a ship and an itinerary for your clients that it's available. So that's what I'm here for, and our wonderful polar travel advisors to our in-house sales team can help you with that.
Perfect. Another question about the facilities. Someone's asking, on the peninsula, when you do landings, do guests have to return to the ship to use the restroom?
Yes, great question. For IATO guidelines, so we were one of the founding members to create IATO, the guidelines for tourism in Antarctica and to regulate these areas. And one of the regulations is that all waste, whether it's food or extremities and human waste, has to come back on board. So we will, and it's not a problem at all. We have a Zodiac on hand if someone does need to, after an hour and a half or so of being on a landing, need to be taken back to the ship. Our expedition team, with having such a low ratio of expedition team members to guests, we can absolutely run someone back to the vessel.
Okay, sounds great. And kind of a final question, you mentioned in October, expeditions will possibly resume. So people are just wondering where they can possibly find a brochure or a little bit more detailing on the schedules.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone can visit our website, quarkexpeditions.com, but feel free to reach out to myself as well, cara.matthew@quarkexpeditions.com. We're resuming starting October 31st in Antarctica. Of course, day by day, we're just looking at the information with Argentina and Chile. So keep email to me. So if you want any updates on our safe COVID policy or on our sailing schedule, happy to keep in touch with all of you.
Great. That was sort of just led into my last question about where people can reach you and reach Quark Expeditions. So yes, I just wanted to thank you for answering all those questions. I feel like we got a lot of great informative content there. And just a reminder to all of you that one of you lucky attendees will be able to receive an email from us regarding the $250 Visa gift card as a prize for attending. We will also have this webinar recorded for those of you who'd like to watch again. I see that in some of the Q&A that some people really enjoyed it and are thanking you. And you can watch it or share it with colleagues. Some people are asking if they'd be able to get a copy of the slide deck that's been presented today.
Yeah, if you wanted to reach out, and we can certainly grab some slides and give you a little informative PDF version for sure. Yeah, love that.
Yeah, lots of in the Q&A box I see about thank you. And
that Polar Pro too. So within my resources, but also Polar Pro has a lot of almost all of this information.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Cara, again for this amazing presentation. And on behalf of Travel Week, we say a great job and a job well done. And stay tuned for our next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Be well, everyone.
Bye.